The other day, specifically 2 days ago on September 30th, the historic date in which Russia officially annexed the four regions of what had been Ukraine before. And the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, gave a speech that I found to be quite significant, quite worth looking at. A lot of juicy bits in this speech. And I have realized that now that there's some parts that I actually missed, and I want to go over some more of what Putin had to say in that speech and what makes it so interesting and so significant. Again, as what strikes me as a potential world-changing, paradigm-changing kind of moment that might have just been solidified on September 30th with the annexation of those four territories. So let's just look at some of these, some other excerpts from this memorable speech of Putin's. So Putin also said, and I talked a little bit the other day, he talked about the Western elites and their degeneracy and how they were pushing this woke agenda, including all of these untenable things like saying that gender doesn't exist and that kids should be able to change their gender in elementary school and whatever, all the outrageous stuff that is true, that is truly happening around us today in the West. So here he says, let me repeat that the dictatorship of the Western elites targets all societies, including the citizens of Western countries themselves. This is a challenge to all. This complete renunciation of what it means to be human, the overthrow of faith and traditional values, and the suppression of freedom are coming to resemble a, quote, religion in reverse, pure Satanism. Exposing false messiahs, Jesus Christ said in the Sermon on the Mount, "By their fruits ye shall know them." These poisonous fruits are already obvious to people, and not only in our country, but also in all countries, including many people in the West itself. So, interesting that Putin, he talks mainly about Russia. This is, what Russia's doing. This is what Russia must do to preserve itself, to preserve its integrity. That it has a different path into the future, besides what these degenerate elites in the West are up to. But here he's expressing an awareness that people in the West are fed up with this stuff, and that this is a challenge, as he says, to all. And this is this overthrow of faith and traditional values and suppression of freedom are coming to resemble a religion in reverse, pure Satanism. By their fruits you shall know them. So, any of this, whatever you think of Putin, is any of this wrong? Is any of this wrong? Okay, moving on. So here's another interesting moment in his speech. He says, the world has entered a period of fundamental revolutionary transformation. New centers of power are emerging. They represent the majority of the international community. They are ready not only to declare their interests, but also to protect them. They see in multipolarity an opportunity to strengthen their sovereignty, which means gaining genuine freedom, historical prospects, and the right to their own independent, creative, and distinctive forms of development, to a harmonious process. Here he's again talking about how this kind of populist rebellion against the elites, and that it's happening. And that there's a real shift in power. New centers of power are emerging. Okay. Again, he's not just talking about Russia here. This is something he's saying is happening in a lot of places around the world. Because people are fed up, even in the West. So he doesn't villainize the West in this speech. He rather villainizes, well, because they are villains. I wouldn't say villainizes. He recognizes the villainy of the Western elites. All right, a couple more things. Putin said, "As I have already said, we have many like-minded people in Europe and the United States," again reiterating that, "and we feel and see their support. An essentially emancipatory anti-colonial movement against unipolar hegemony is taking shape in the most diverse countries and societies. Its power will only grow with time. It is the force that will determine our future geopolitical reality." Okay, this is pretty heady stuff. I have to say, I don't think I see Joe Biden giving a speech like this. I don't think I see any American president in the last several years giving a speech with this kind of sophistication. Now, I don't know. Putin probably has a speechwriter. I'm not saying he wrote this himself, but still, this is pretty heady, elevated stuff. But it's making the same point. There's a movement against what he could characterize as colonial hegemony, which is NATO, of course, wanting to have this stranglehold over Europe and increasingly over Russia through using Ukraine, the proxy war in Ukraine. And he's saying this is being met with staunch resistance, and he is right. He is right about that. Again, this doesn't mean you have to think he's a good guy. This doesn't mean you have to think that he is sincere in what he's saying. He might just be opportunistic. You don't just trust the head of state. You don't just take his words at face value. Nevertheless, these words are powerful and significant and important. Okay, and finally finishing up. Friends, today we are fighting for a just and free path. First of all, for ourselves, for Russia, in order to leave dictate and despotism in the past. I am convinced that countries and peoples understand that a policy based on the exceptionalism of whoever it may be and the suppression of other cultures and peoples is inherently criminal. So basically saying, we get to determine what the world believes, and we're going to force our ways upon the world, which is what is happening in the West right now. It's happening with the West imposing these standards upon the non-West, and again with the woke agenda and so forth. He's saying this is an example of colonialism, and it should not be allowed to stand. So a policy based on the exceptionalism of whoever it may be and the suppression of all of other cultures and peoples is inherently criminal, and we must close this shameful chapter. The ongoing collapse of Western hegemony is irreversible, and I repeat, things will never be the same. Okay? Powerful words. You got to admit, these are powerful words. Whatever you may think of Putin. And again, I'm not saying this because I want you to be to become pro Putin pure. That's a mouthful. I'm not saying this because I want you to become a Putin partisan per se. There, got it out. But I do think that Putin is giving voice to something that is real here. And this is something we should take note of. Whether he's doing it cynically or sincerely, it hardly matters, because that's really between Vladimir Putin and God, right? Whether he's sincere or not. The question is he going to continue this pushback against so much of what is being imposed upon us, the despotism of wokeism that is being imposed upon us, and it's like we have no choice. We just have to accept it, or else be excluded from society, be kicked off of social media, be rendered pariahs, unless we accept that 5-year-old children should be able to change their gender and all other kinds of evil nonsense. Putin is speaking very powerfully about all of this, and it needs to be acknowledged. So what do y'all think? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching.